They laughed when she walked by. A line of fresh recruits, barely 2 weeks into training, stood outside the mess hall, whispering, pointing, and snickering as the young woman passed them. Her jacket, plain and unmarked, slipped from her arm and hit the dirt. One of the recruits smirked and kicked it further down the path. "Pick it up, rookie," he sneered. "This isn't a fashion show." The woman, calm and quiet, bent down, brushed the dust from the fabric, and said nothing. Her name was Lena Cross. She had come to the base quietly, without the medals or reputation that once made her name echo across command halls. No one there knew who she really was, and she preferred it that way. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The sun was setting over the base that evening. Long shadows stretched across the concrete, the flag barely fluttering in the still air. Lena walked alone past the barracks, hearing laughter from inside, the same recruits bragging about how they'd put the new girl in her place. She paused outside the door, hand trembling slightly. Not with anger, but with something deeper. She had once been like them. Eager, proud, reckless. Back before the mission that had changed everything. Back before she stepped away from command, broken by loss, and swore never to wear the stars again. But fate has a way of circling back. The next morning, the base buzzed with whispers. An unscheduled inspection had been announced. Uniforms were pressed, boots shined, and every recruit stood at attention in the training yard. The air was tense. Even the seasoned instructors didn't know who was coming. Then, a black convoy rolled through the gates. The vehicle stopped in front of the assembled soldiers. Boots hit the ground in unison, polished, deliberate. And when the door opened, every breath seemed to vanish. Lena stepped out. But this time, she wasn't in a plain jacket. She wore the 4 gleaming stars of a full general, her medals glinting under the morning sun. The recruits who had mocked her the day before turned pale, realization flooding their faces. One of them, the same boy who had kicked her jacket, instinctively stepped back, his voice catching. She stopped in front of them, her posture tall, commanding, but her expression wasn't cruel. It was calm, compassionate, even. "Discipline," she said softly, "isn't just about how you follow orders. It's about how you treat people when you think no one's watching." The crowd was silent. The flag above them fluttered again, not loud, but steady, as if even the wind was listening. The recruits' faces burned with shame. A few looked down. Others whispered apologies. Lena turned to the instructor beside them. "These recruits have potential," she said. "But potential means nothing without humility." She walked past them, leaving behind a silence that would stay with every one of them for the rest of their careers. Later that evening, alone in her office overlooking the base, Lena looked at her reflection, at the stars on her shoulders. They weren't a symbol of rank to her anymore. They were a reminder. A reminder that leadership isn't about power. It's about patience. That strength without empathy becomes cruelty, and that sometimes the people who mock you in your silence will one day stand to salute you in awe, because respect isn't demanded, it's earned. The recruits who had laughed that day went on to become some of the best soldiers under her command. And though they never spoke of the jacket incident again, they never forgot it either. Every time they saluted her, it came from a place far deeper than duty. It came from respect, because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits. And it finds its way back. The same dirt that once held her jacket now reflected her stars. So tell me, what would you have done if you were in her place? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Stories where respect, courage, and humility still matter.